Our second ever episode of Ask the D&D Professors.
Here we are. Hello.
Here we are. I'm Elizabeth. We've got Chris here like last time, but now we are joined by Scott. So let's,
Hello.
Chris, you want to go first introducing yourself so Scott has a model?
Sure. My name is Chris Compo-Bowen. I am, in my day job, a professor of music history at Virginia Tech. I am also a member of Open the Gates Gaming, our research collective. And so, yeah, so some of my job now is to know academic things about D&D, or at least to think academically about D&D. And I am a self-identified forever DM, even though I also play. But I don't know. I like DMing. I like knowing things, which is why I only ever play wizards or himbos who don't have to know anything. So anyway, that's me. Scott, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Scott Hannenberg. I also teach music. I teach music theory at the Cleveland Institute of Music, and I'm also a member of Open the Gates. I find myself with Open the Gates doing some of our tool development and sometimes also running games. I also run a game for, that includes both Chris and Elizabeth. And they have the rare accolade of having finished a Curse of Strahd campaign.
You did
So
do that.
you did do that.
I mean, technically, I
Yeah.
just came in and wrecked it and then did some other things, but it's, yes, we did it.
You were there for the important bit.
Oh boy, that is a story for another day. Yeah, and I'm Elizabeth McLean. I'm kind of hosting, for lack of a better term. for this episode, but I am also a professor of musicology and director of disability studies. Um, Also worth mentioning, because I realized it came up more in the discussion than in the introduction. But I am a cishet white woman who's autistic and has other disabilities using mobility aids and things like that. So that does occasionally come up in our chat. We have Atlas Vernia once again running the stream, monitoring chat. Feel free to put questions there. Just like last week, although we're live here on Twitch, the recorded version will go up on YouTube about a week after we air, and that one is going to have cleaned up captions where we can fix any technical glitches, misspelling, anything like that. So our stories today are from Reddit. Uh, the subreddits D&D, TTRPG, Am I the Asshole, and the TTRPG, Am I the Asshole, mainly. I should also mention that there is a link in chat. It'll also be pinned on the YouTube. If you would like to submit your own questions, stories from your friends, or things you found online, let us know, and hopefully we'll be able to work it into one of these episodes. With that, are y'all ready for the first question?
Yes, I will say, just as a warning, I am currently in a small mountain town in North Carolina for a classical music festival, and my internet has been garbage today. So if I happen to drop for any reason, that's why. It's not because I don't want to talk to you all.
No, he's just rage quitting. It's a cover.
Cable flip. Anyway, yes, please go ahead.
Oh my goodness. I was like, I'm the barbarian in this group. What are you talking about?
Mm,
Okay. Am I the asshole for asking my players above table if they're okay? And this was asked by username Great Wolf Detective. So I run D&D sessions every Monday for a group of 5 friends. One of my friends had to miss a session because they felt sick. So that day we had 4. The players I had issues with are Laura and Sam. They are an engaged couple. Okay, this is already getting spicy. So I
Quite a
started
notepad.
running, and oh, you're taking notes? This is
I'm gonna
what
take notes.
professors do. They got to take notes.
Mostly because I can't remember what the hell is being said, and then I can't respond accurately. So,
And this way, you know that we really are letting the students pick the stories. I'm lucky if I do a baseline pre-read before this, so these are live reactions. Okay. Since we are like a fifth of the way through this, the person asking is the DM. They run sessions once a week for 5 friends. One person missed, so there were only 4 at this particular session. It's a math problem. The players that are going to be the problem are Laura and Sam, who are an engaged couple. I absolutely love the background, like right behind where you're writing notes. It makes it better. Your little buddy.
mhm.
So I start running and we play for about 2 hours or so. I noticed Laura and Sam aren't acting like themselves. Laura mentioned she had a rough day, but insisted on playing. Throughout the whole session, they're dead silent, constantly on mute, typing their responses in character, and the rare occasions they do speak on VC, so voice chat, they sound uninterested and tired. The other 2 players are doing all the work, and they're the only ones really bothering to roleplay. I should mention the other 2 players are new to the game, while Laura and Sam are very experienced. Laura and Sam are usually very chatty, both as people and as players. It struck me as odd. After around 2 hours of this, I decided to bite the bullet and just ask above table if they're okay because I was worried about them. They then said they were eating. Sam said he got 2 hours sleep, and Laura said she was letting the other 2 players shine, as the current story involved backstory stuff for another player. I then said it's a collaborative game, and that even if the story is focused on one player, other players are encouraged to speak and interact. I was honestly just worried about them, but Sam typed, and this is in quotes, "Sorry for killing the vibe." And then he left. Laura said I made it awkward. She then said I should have private messaged, but I was honestly very concerned about them and I wanted the situation dealt with. I messaged each member of the group apologizing, but looking back on it, I'm really not sure. Am I the asshole for bringing that up during the game? So after
Mm.
that whole story, the initial question kind of in the title is, am I the asshole for asking my players above table if they're okay?
I mean, my gut reaction is no. That's generally a good thing, but I, there's not a lot. I mean, granted, we only ever get, one person's story, one person's side of the story, and kind of we don't know what details are being left out. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes with Laura and Sam, but like I think generally it's good to check in with your players about how they're feeling, especially if they're like visibly or maybe not upset. Well, certainly if they're upset, but like even if they're just like not as engaged as they normally are. Um, I mean, this just makes me think that something's going on for Red Sam. That's bleeding into whatever it is they're doing. But that's me.
There's a couple things coming up for me with this because I've definitely been that DM who has some insecurities, let's say, about feeling like, oh, my players aren't coming back to me, and I'm trying to, put things out there, but it doesn't feel like it's landing right. And you start doubting yourself, and you get up in your head, and you think that a player not engaging is a criticism when, who knows what's going on for that player. Like someone hasn't had more than 2 hours of sleep, and like different players are dealing with different things when they come to the table. And then the other big picture thing I think is just like the time that we get to play together is so precious, and it
Mm,
feels like the stakes are so high to be our best selves for each other and to get their best selves for our, precious few hours of enjoyment. Um, it sounds to me like that's what's happening here is just like everybody has some high expectations for what the other ones should be doing, and those things are just butting heads a little bit. Like I definitely wouldn't say this DM is being the asshole. Certainly not for asking the question in the first place, for saying like, let's check in, how's everyone doing? But I can also see the criticism of like when then you push on your players a little bit and say, I need more from you in these scenes. Yeah, then we're starting to really get into a big conversation above table in the middle of a session. And I don't know, what's the right or wrong way to handle that. It's just I can understand that that would be a little uncomfortable.
I think
Yeah.
like if it's rising to the level of concern for like a player's well-being, like in the moment, then yes, say something. But yeah, like I think you could also, as I think you're kind of implying, right? You could have waited until after the session to bring it up and be like, hey, I noticed you didn't seem like you were doing well. Like, everything okay? Blah 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 blah. Which yeah, like sometimes if you bring up something like this at a table in the middle of a game, then people like get put on the defensive because of their own things that are going on in their head. Um, but yeah, sorry, Elizabeth, you were going to say something, I think.
Conspiracy theory time.
Oh yeah, please.
This is because I get to see the text. He starts and ends with, "Am I the asshole for bringing this up during the game and asking them if they're okay?" That's not actually what he says he does, though.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Read the text back.
so he's talking about number one, they are engaging. He's saying they're dead silent, but they type their responses in character, so they are responding in character.
Yep.
And he's just saying they sound uninterested and tired on voice chat or whatever. The other two are role playing. The episode, he doesn't contest that the episode is kind of focused on the other two and their backstory. The way he says it is after around 2 hours of this, I decided to bite the bullet and just ask above table if they're okay because I'm worried about them. And then when they're like, oh, we're eating, Sam only got 2 hours of sleep. Laura's like, I'm letting the other one shine because it's like their story. Which I'll be honest, that is a thing I have been trying to do more lately because I get way too excited and won't shut up when we're playing. Um, but then he writes, I then said it's a collaborative game that even if the story is focused on one player, the other players are encouraged to speak and interact.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's maybe.
I do wonder if there is like whether, and I'm not saying this is intentional or not, but you're always getting these from one person. Their decisions always make sense to them. We're always getting what they meant to communicate. I am
Yep.
wondering, I'm wondering why 2 hours in? Because once you're 2 hours in, if it's been happening the whole time, like, let it go. Plus, if they're on Discord, which sounds like they're on Discord, something like that, Zoom, you can private message. Like,
Mm.
Mhm.
you can private message. And I think it brings up another thing from the very beginning. Again, I'm cheating. So they've got a 5-person party. One person is missing. Sam only got
Mm.
2 hours of sleep. And Sam's showing up anyway. It made me wonder if there's like a rule where if like more than, because I know sometimes like more than one person cancels, we reschedule. I don't know, like what, as a DM, yes, you'd rather have your players there and engaged and whatever. Sometimes that's not the choice, right? Sometimes the choice is me only kind of showing up or me not showing up at all.
Mhm.
So I do wonder.
Yeah.
But it is also like
I
the passive, like, sorry for killing the vibe and just quitting. I wonder what's going on there, whether that was justified or not. But
yeah, I think it's a collaborative game could potentially come off as patronizing, but especially if these people are longtime players. But apparently they're all friends, so uh, I don't know.
the closest
It,
analogy I
it,
can think of is when Scott checked in with me after a session, not during a session, after checking to make sure it was a good time to have the conversation and see how I was doing because my character was not getting into as many hijinks.
yeah. Yeah. It
That felt like
sounds
a
like
way to handle it.
it sounds like things are already a little charged at this table, right? Like both on the DM
Mm.
side and on Sam's side. Like if Sam is feeling so activated that he just can't be there. I mean, granted, like benefit of the doubt, 2 hours sleep and all the rest of it. I'm not saying it's unreasonable. It's always okay to step away if you need the space. And then the DM also feeling that insecurity, feeling the players not acting in the scene in the way that the DM is imagining that they ought to, that that's enough of a triggering incident. Um, yeah, it feels like maybe there's some deeper currents going on here. I don't know.
Mm.
I think that what's more interesting to me is the situation described and the question asked.
Mhm.
Right? Like right there, there's a mismatch. Um, because that's not the only thing you did. So I think that's why my brain is like, you know what, you must know
Ah.
that you have to put this in a good light or it's gonna make you like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that might be I acknowledge it's a lot of conclusions. Either way, it's a tricky situation, right? I mean,
Mm.
is it okay? I'll just ask y'all this as DMs that DM more regularly than I do. Um, if you have a player who is having a rough day, how do you want them to handle that? Do you want them
Mm.
to skip? Do you want them to show up? Do you want them to tell you? Do you want them to not tell you?
I have another question here, which we're not going to get an answer to. But and the full tangent. But what this makes me wonder is how much time is this play group taking? Like, it sounds like they're obviously doing virtual gaming. How much time is this group taking when they come to the virtual table before they dive in to check in with each
Mm.
other? Chit chat is happening beforehand. Like, is there enough time to sort of just quietly in a friendly way diagnose that sort of thing? How is everyone feeling? How much energy do people seem to have tonight? Tune into that as the DM and think about, like, yeah, this might be a night where I'm going to have to do a little more lifting, where my characters are going to have to talk a little bit more because everyone's feeling a little subdued. Or just, it might take another half hour for some of the players to start to turn on. That happens, like, when I'm a player at a table, that happens to me all the time. Is I'm very
Mm.
slow burn at the beginning, and then I sort of start to find my footing, maybe. So yeah, just I wonder about that, and not that there's a right or wrong way again, but I have been feeling like more and more at my virtual sessions that check-in time has been growing, and I think that's a really nice thing because
Mm.
we're all friends, and something we're craving is just to have that time together, whether we're playing or not. I mean, the
Mm.
game is precious. We want to get into it, but also there's more that we need out of this.
Mm.
I'm also wondering why he bothered to point out that Sam and Laura are engaged.
Yeah,
Mm.
I
that
just thought
feels like
that
it's
was
gonna be. It feels like it's
I
being
thought that was
introduced
going
to
to be
set
more
up something's
relevant.
happening later. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Well, I
I
mean,
get that
now
them
now
being a
we're
couple is important though.
well, and I think like now
I
we're
was
we're
just really
borderline
expecting more.
we're borderline engaging in armchair psychology at this point, or at least I'm about to do that. So let me speak only for me. But I wonder if there is, yeah, this kind of like undercurrent or subconscious kind of worry about kind of collusion on the part of the two of them because like they are in
Oh.
presumably in physical proximity to one another and could, you know, that there's something going on that they're not telling him.
Oh, because that would feel really different, right? Like if I was being quiet and Gustavo were being quiet, we're just being quiet.
Right.
If Scott and Caitlin are in the room together and they're being quiet.
Right. There's a
Although I
different
don't
it's
know.
a
I'm
different vibe.
actually I'm actually the one like private messaging everyone in Zoom really, really lame jokes. So
I will say, like the messaging component of this, I think, is important. Like, and probably more tables ought to have, you know, frank conversations as part of the session zero about like if a player is playing their character only through text, how do we feel about that? Is that going to,
Mm,
like what does that involve? Are we all comfortable to be just eyes on the chat a little bit more through the session? Um, or do we ask players to flag that a little bit on a session by session basis? Um,
because Chris
yeah,
got to experience my crew last night where one person primarily engages in chat
yeah.
and then the other person it has to do with kids staying in and
Mm,
out of bed. But
mm,
also sometimes we do it to not interrupt each other, but to not lose our thought.
yeah,
mm.
But yeah, that.
yeah. There's a lot you
But
can
but
do
I
with
realized that
text.
was a lot different. So I kept being like, "Oh, this is there," and I was like, "I can read the chat,"
Eventually, I caught to just have the chat open all the time, which is not something I normally do.
which
But
is really
uh,
distracting because we only sent like about 25% of the gifts we normally send. It's normally
25%,
just
good,
like our note taking is just like through gifts. Yeah.
lovely.
Yes.
Um, yeah. But to get back to your question about like, you know, what is pre session communication look like, and also to pick up on what Scott was saying is like I think it's nice to have that like 5, 10, 15 sometimes minutes of kind of like before we like get into the game of just like, oh, how was your day, oh, my department chair, blah blah blah.
That
So
may not be as relatable to non-academics, but
yeah,
yes.
okay, fine, my boss, blah blah blah. And hey, you're D&D professors after all.
I know. As
Um,
advertised, everyone.
indeed. Anyway, so yeah, so like having or when just when you have a rough day, it's nice to be able to vent with your friends, and like have a minute to process if you haven't had a chance to do it prior. um so and I feel like that often will help me, like if I've had a shitty day, like just getting 5 minutes to be like, here are enumerated in great detail the 5 ways in which it was shitty. Then that's out of the way. And then it's easier to get into it. But I think like, yeah, if you're having like a truly bad day, um, like I think you can always like that counts. Like you don't need more of a reason other than like I don't want to do it today. Like that's all you need. And yeah, like certainly people can have their feelings about that. And those feelings are equally as valid as your own. But I just think like, it's good to be like, hey, yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna be a very good player tonight, so maybe I'm just gonna take the evening off because yeah, I had a shitty day, or I don't know, there's just personal stuff happening, or I'm on enough antibiotics to kill a horse and I just need to lay down, or whatever. Um, so yeah.
I think also like yeah, normalize it being okay to show up in different states of presentness, right? Like
Mhm.
feel free to say, oh, I'm not up for it tonight, I need to take the night off. But also I think feel free to say like hey, I want to be here, but I'm going to be pretty quiet. My character is just kind of following y'all around at this point. I would like to be an audience member for this session. I think that should be okay, and we should feel comfortable to flag that for our groups.
Mm.
Now, this is so peaceful and agreeable that I want I want to jump to the next one.
Oh no.
Am
I
I the
solved it. We're
asshole?
done. It's good.
Am I the asshole for not stopping my player? Asked by username no status 1219. My D&D party is in an extremely dangerous illegal gambling den, trying to rescue an NPC to whom one of them is very attached. I described the place as highly perilous and made sure that the entire game world warned the players about how necessary it was to proceed with caution. Now, one of my party members is notorious for not being a particularly methodical person and for making his characters act recklessly, not just in my campaign, but in general. In my campaign specifically, this player's character, a warlock, needed to investigate the mind flayers, but has been repeatedly discouraged from confronting them head on as they are extremely dangerous creatures. Inside the gambling den, there happened to be a mind flayer as well. The moment the player saw it, he didn't think twice before having his character engage with the creature, bombarding it with suspicious questions, giving vague answers, and offering nothing when asked for a deal. Needless to say, the conversation ended very badly for his character, consequently putting the rest of the party at risk. Nobody else died, because I don't like punishing the entire party for a player's mistake, but the rescue mission went sideways. This could have been the end of it, except that one of the players has accused me of handling the situation poorly. He argued that I should have made the character roll an intelligence check to realize how dangerous the situation was, that the warlock's patron should have intervened to stop him before he could get into trouble, or that I shouldn't have put the mind flayer inside the room to begin with, because we all know the player's recklessness, and as the DM, I should have kept him in check and prevented him from making a mess. I believe the risks were made very clear, and that it's not my job to babysit my players. Maybe I'm wrong and should be more attentive. Am I the asshole?
Mm,
So I feel like this is like there are a lot of hints here to me that players and DM are maybe not all on the same page. And I
mm,
think this is something that probably like this incident sounds like a symptom of a bigger situation. Like if you've got one player who just wants to be reckless, plays reckless characters, likes to be reckless, I would have a question for that player as a DM after noticing that pattern. I would be wondering like, are you just excited to move the action forward, damn the consequences, and you're okay if you lose a character here and there along the way? Like, if so, run it like this DM ran it. Perfect, right? If that character instead wants to live the fantasy of being reckless and getting away with it, then this is not how you need to run a session for that player. And then you've got this second player who's being critical. It's maybe not clear what they're looking for out of their gaming session specifically, but it feels like at least character death in this sort of scenario felt extreme to them. So maybe this is a table where character death is more okay in the DM's eyes than it is in some of the players' eyes. I would have so many more questions to get into it, but it definitely just feels like people are on different sets of expectations going into this session.
yeah, I would tend to agree. I wonder about like the player who, is like, well, you should have made him or this other player roll an intelligence check, or like otherwise, said, this is really
As if a
dangerous. Oh,
warlock is going to do well on an intelligence
well,
check.
indeed.
Like, let's be real.
So it's like the player is in effect making an intelligence check. But that also is like, I mean, again, like we don't have a lot of information. Like I think, at a table where everybody's friends and everybody is kind of like our table where you like the majority of people playing are DMs in one capacity or another, like I feel like that sort of thing, like that makes more sense because we have all been there, right? And we all, you know, have our own ways of dealing with difficult situations. But then like so we don't know enough about this player to really judge, I guess. Like, what kind of spirit this comment was offered in. I think based on the way that it's written, it was seen by the DM as at minimum maybe extraneous and at worst adversarial. So and that's also a symptom of an underlying situation potentially, right? That like there is definitely a disconnect between how this player saw the situation and how they respond, what their idea is, yeah, of how their character is supposed to work in the frame of this story, right? As you put it, I think very well, right? Is this a thing where they want to get away with the fantasy of being really reckless and pulling it off? If so, yeah, that's a conversation. Because again, we also don't know, what were the measures that this DM put into place to indicate that this was going to be a very dangerous situation. Um, so, they could have been inadequate for all we know, but it sounds like this person was trying to
Yeah.
do a bunch. And there's
The
a certain
DM
point,
says
yeah,
he described the place as highly perilous, made sure that the entire game world warned the players how necessary it was to proceed with caution, and that this player, particularly who needed to investigate mind flayers, had been repeatedly discouraged from confronting them heads on because they're extremely dangerous creatures. I mean, this is it.
all.
The other thing is, I want to know exactly how this went
Well, so
down
did
because
the NPC die or did a PC die? Did anybody
it
die?
says all it says is nobody else died because I don't like punishing the entire party for a player's mistake, but the rescue mission went sideways.
It sounds
Nobody.
to me like that player's character died, but I might be
Yeah,
reading
well,
the
that's how
information.
I interpreted it, but it never
Doesn't say it
I wonder,
explicitly.
explicitly.
did the beloved NPC die? Because that I think is maybe more likely. Hmm.
But
Mm.
this is the thing, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out if okay, if I have a player who's notoriously reckless, has been warned, he goes up, starts playing with fire, and a fire breaks out. If I then have him roll initiative against the one bad guy, and it is a choice for the rest of the party to join this, that's a different scenario than if I'm just like, everybody roll initiative,
Right.
right? So there's like, I feel like the things we actually need to know are the things that are left out here.
Mm,
I don't think that just like having an intelligence check to realize how dangerous a situation is. I mean, I have been in situations where I call for that, although normally it's not it, right? Like normally it's insight or whatever. But or history specifically if it's like this is you know better. Um and I mean I might check in with players to be like, hey, does anybody remember what so and so said to you?
Mhm.
But like there is a point where a player having agency means a player will do things. And you can't
yep.
baby proof every encounter or it's not fun because then you're not that you have to like throw an adult red dragon in a room with level 3 players, but like yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. Like
Definitely not me
I'm really
considering that.
curious.
Like, why not?
I'm really curious,
Yeah,
like,
I saw
could they
that.
have chosen to leave? What level are they? Because like warlocks usually have a way to bamf out of a place once they get to a certain level. Like, how
Well,
much
and
did they
like,
choose to continue down the path? I feel like that's all the information we would need. But for
Yeah.
me, it's like it can't when I've been in situations like this or discussed them with other DMs or been a player at a table where this is going down, so much of this gray area that determines how I see it is like, oh, that went well or that went poorly is really about how much choice there was along the way, right? If it's like you
mm,
make a mistake and you're dead, that doesn't
Mhm.
quite feel fair. But if
Yeah.
you are poking a bear, you get smacked and then you go in for more, that's on you, buddy. Um,
yeah.
so like yeah. And I wonder how much of this is gosh, there's so much context I want. Because another one is this other player speaking up because they're sick of this player playing recklessly and having consequences? And in their mind, the only solution is like stop having any consequences and just let him do whatever he wants. Like, is this actually a
Mhm.
conversation that the players need to have, not
Yeah,
just
maybe.
DM and player? I don't know. So anyway,
Mm.
like all of these, we've only got as much information as we have, but I think it does prompt some really interesting
But I think that the theme in both of these situations, right, is we've got people, DMs and players or all of the above, just people not on the same page. I mean, it's what you were joking about off the top. Just like, we need to have more conversations above board and set expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I also
Well, and
feel
I.
like the mid session break is severely
Mm,
underutilized
mm,
because if you need to check in with a player in the middle of a session, take a break and
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
text them.
Yep.
Roll initiative, call five, and is comfortable with how things are heading.
Yeah. Well, and also, I, do we have any indication in this story from the player in question, or is it only the third party player that we hear from in terms of?
It's only the third party player,
See, that's
which is also
interesting.
really interesting to me.
So yeah, well, at this point, like I don't know that we have enough information to really say anything because like we don't know what the other player thought. Maybe that player was totally okay with their player getting
Well,
their
and the
brain
wording
eaten
is
by a mind
interesting.
player.
Like, I should have kept him in check and prevented him from making a mess. And I'm
Okay, so
sorry,
presumably something bad
a
happened.
warlock's patron intervening to make the warlock behave is not the
Oh,
most
dude,
common way that relationship unfolds in
I
D&D.
feel like
Like
that.
it could be a cool character
Yeah.
concept. I saw a joke on social media today about the divorce lock as a hypothetical build where you're part cleric and part paladin, and like your patron and your god used to be married and they're fighting over you and you have to like pick which one's your favorite to figure out which things you have access to. Yeah.
Okay, whoever
No, I
wrote
mean,
that joke needs to go to therapy.
don't we all?
Yeah, we all do.
But I
Um,
do, I mean, I do have one that is, sorry, I rolled to the next question and it's something.
oh, good. Okay, yeah.
It's shorter, but
Okay.
it's something. Okay, this one is from user oops, it's Gail 927, and I didn't read that. Oh, okay. That makes it so much funnier. Um, am I the asshole for making a character lose stat points for disrupting the table? Okay, I
I
wasn't.
shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh.
It starts with I wasn't either of the involved people, but I think it's hilarious. My cousins, my brother, and I were playing D&D. My oldest cousin was DMing, and my brother was playing as a Goliath paladin. His backstory was that he technically wasn't a paladin because everyone he tried to pledge himself to didn't want him representing them. It was a really interesting character idea with just the right amount of silly. As the game progressed, my brother abandoned any actual depth of his character and made his sole purpose to get taller. He was already at 12 feet of stature, or what? Already 12 feet of stature, be damned. Okay. Every time we interacted with an NPC, my brother asked them for potions that would make him taller. My DM refused him the first few times, but eventually told him that every time he increases in height, he loses a point in his intelligence stat. That settled him down relatively well. I think it was warranted because my brother was far from the youngest at the table. He knows better than that and was disrupting everyone who was actually trying to roleplay and progress in the campaign. But my grandma, who was watching, thinks the DM was overreaching his authority. So who was the asshole? Grandma has
My
an opinion.
grandma has an opinion.
Grandma has an opinion
Oh
that
boy.
that the DM was overstepping. I really hope she expressed it that way.
Like I need a minute to like
I feel like the only thing that's close to this
triangulate.
is Gita's obsession with boats.
So there's a discrepancy between the title and the post, right? I think I'm getting this right.
Yeah, so
Where
they're
in the
writing it.
title it says I took away a point, or yeah, gave some sort of stat, you know, reduction. But in the post, it was a threat to do so, and
Yes.
was never, I think, was never carried through with.
Well, it's not mentioned in the post, but presumably the title indicates that this may have actually happened at some point.
It's interesting. The DM refused him the first few times, but eventually told him that every time he increases in height, he loses a point in his intelligence stat. So I don't know if he made it retroactive.
Oof.
That's the piece of information we would need.
Mm, one of them.
Um, and it is definitely written like from the way the question is worded at the beginning, the title is as if the DM's writing this, but it's actually a player writing it.
Right.
To
Yeah.
clarify. But yeah.
And the
It's also
brothers. Oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
Well, just to clarify again, the brother's character is a paladin.
He doesn't really need it. Like the
But
biggest
that's what I'm
problem is
thinking. Intelligence
if
is
they're
sort of a flavor
literal,
swap.
if they're literal and they're like, I'm sorry, you can't read. I'm sorry, you can no longer speak. That's when it would be really funny. I don't know that I would have done it quite that way, although I 100% would have spiked the potions. Like 100%. I love me random potion tables, like random effects. That's what I would have done because he can keep playing, but it actually becomes more interesting.
Mm,
There is a point where it does get really annoying, but
that's what I'm wondering about because there is an indication here, right, that there is something to do with like age and maturity level that is kind of at issue
well,
here.
he's not the youngest one, and they're saying every
But who
time
is
this
it?
came up every time they interacted with an NPC, and there was a point where it is mentioned um he knows better and it was disruptive.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this is
but
where like occasionally I will have like Gita's gonna ask about a boat, it won't make sense. Gita's gonna believe that twins share one brain, it won't make sense. I'll be consistent, I'll commit to the bit. But as soon as I hear listen from Chris, I know that's it. We reached the line. We can back off now. Um, like I don't think shticks like that can be bad. I also this is controversial. I don't mind if somebody at the table just checks out of role playing for a few sessions and lets other people, you know what I mean? Lets other
well,
people want to
yeah.
play. Fine, but I do think if it's getting disruptive, introducing consequences, is one way to deal with it. I mean, being actually mature and talking to them is another way. But you know,
Well, but that's what I'm wondering is like, is this a case where like one of the people at this table is 9 and one is 10? Like, what's going on here? What is
That's
an age at which you should know better? Because some people are in their 40s and 50s and do not know better.
well, if
Um,
it sounds like it's two brothers and three cousins, with one of the cousins
mm,
DMing.
okay,
So like we already have like a everyone's gonna revert to their child self.
indeed.
At the
Um,
baseline.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't know.
It's just
I
a
mean, the thing
great
is, as
line.
far as consequences go, like, it's actually not bad because like yeah okay you grow a foot taller and you lose a point of intelligence you really want that point of intelligence back let your DM know your DM can tell you oh here's a quest to get a potion that like will reverse the effects of this and may or may not take a foot of height away like I don't know like that's a DM's prerogative I guess but like there are there's nothing that can't be reversed
It's
about
also
this
funny because you could
situation.
be like, no, you can't have a potion.
Yeah. Like, yeah, what is it? Well, I guess and that's where it gets disruptive, right? Is like if every NPC is, does not have a random potion of getting taller, but this person continues to ask that like, and they, keep hearing no, but still keep asking. And yeah, I could see how that would get.
Let's see, then you just sell him a potion. If he doesn't ask for a deception check, he doesn't notice you're lying, and then he shrinks right down. I think there's more creative ways to mess with this guy.
Yes.
But
Agreed.
I
I also wonder if there's a little bit of like the Lord of the Rings versus Monty Python expectations going on here.
totally no. And
Mm,
it sounds like it is a table with a lot of younger folks at it, and it sounds like for me this is squarely in the bin of you know play silly games, win silly prizes. Like I think there's silliness going on at the table. The player is behaving in a silly way. The DM found a silly way to clap back. I love it. I'm here for
I
it.
mean, it definitely doesn't seem like worth calling this person an asshole. Like, it
No.
definitely doesn't rise to that level. I mean, it's a little bit of a, like, everybody is at fault here, but none of it's serious, I think,
So
kind
we
of.
don't agree with grandma then.
I mean, this is the only thing is, like, grandma might know things we don't know. I don't
This
know.
is true.
But the
Uh,
thing is, grandma, on page 4 of the DMG, this also goes to the, like, the game is a social contract, right? Like,
right. Yeah.
that's the thing that reins the DM in, is, like, if the DM is not being fair or interesting, then there's no players. But it is harder to walk away from a family game, and yeah, it's a whole.
Yeah. Also, like, how and why is grandma watching? Like, I want to know more about this situation.
I
Not
just
even
want
anything
to
to do
play
with the
with grandma.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, why did Grandma
Uh,
not have a character rolled up?
yeah.
She's gonna be she's like, she just
Maybe she,
doesn't like that DM. She's like, of
or
all
she's
my
salty because she can't
grandchildren,
play. Like, I don't
you
know.
are the worst DM, child.
Well, like, is she
Shame
watching
on
them? Like, are they
family.
streaming? Like, is she, someone have a tablet and she's
Oh my
FaceTiming in? Like,
god,
what?
you think grandma's on Twitch?
I don't know. Maybe someone put her there. Like,
I'm guessing they're playing, like, but I don't
you
know. You're
know,
right. You're right.
like if I had been doing something ridiculous on Twitch and my grandma was still around, like, and my family thought, hey, this is wild, they would absolutely have opened Twitch up on
Oh,
an iPad and showed it to her.
my grandfather would love Gita. I just want to be really clear and on the record with that. Um, yeah. Okay, this one's a little less silly. I I might kind of love it. Am I the asshole for no longer planning D&D sessions? Asked by Street
Hmm.
Reporter 9814. I've wanted to play D&D for a good while and got my little brother to DM for me and my friends. We've been playing for a
Hmm.
couple of months and we were all having a good time. When it came to planning, I was usually the one to get the group together. Any one of us can plan it. I just usually ended up being the one to check what day worked for everyone. The last couple of sessions, the game was becoming less and less fun for me. This is where the social contract can kick in when you're not aware of it, I think. It
Hmm.
seemed like the DM didn't really like the character I made, a rogue who wants to kill a mob boss and will kill anyone who she sees as a bad guy. He wants the character to regret her actions and see killing as wrong, but I feel like he is forcing it into the story. I talked to him about it and I thought it would be cool, but then the last session he doubled down on it. In the last session, all the characters were in a hallucination that they had to break out of. The others could break out of the trance, and my character was the only one that hadn't. The other players weren't allowed to do anything. Nothing their characters could do would help. It was like the game would not continue unless the character decided to give up on her goal. I didn't want the game to grind to a halt, so I just went with it and the game continued. After that, I haven't really been excited about playing anymore, and I haven't planned the next session. I would still be willing to go if any of the other players planned it. But everyone's busy, so if I don't organize it, it probably won't happen. Sometimes other players will say that they miss playing, but they don't make the effort to plan it. We've pretty much stopped playing. I do feel like the asshole because the DM, my little brother, put a lot of effort into writing the campaign, and I know he's disappointed that we've stopped playing. I do miss getting together with everyone and having fun, but if I think about the campaign, I don't want to play that character anymore. I don't know, maybe I'm being dramatic. Am I the asshole? This is such a gendered post before I
It
hand it over
is.
to the men.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, I like talking about gender. Um,
This is true. When students want to write about, music and gender, I'm like, go see the other guy.
uh, So I said it before, I'll say it again. No D or bad, rather, wait, oh God, I can't even remember the saying if I'm going to say it. No D and
You want me
D
to say
is
it for
better
you?
than bad D&D. There, I got it. Somehow. And also like removing agency from a player or players in this case, right? If they're all trying to get someone out of a hallucination. Um,
But it started before that. It's
yeah.
like
Well,
your character should feel guilty for killing someone that she thinks is a bad guy.
yeah. So
And then even when she agrees, he doubles down more. And then there's this hallucination. It says the others could break out of the trance, and my character was the only one who hadn't. So maybe it's that they all could, but she was just stuck, like
Yeah.
wasn't getting the roles or something. But also the idea that the other characters can't help, and that the only way
That
for her to
yeah.
get out is for her to give up on her goal.
Yeah. That's not good.
And then you have the next step, which is the older daughter effect. And here, the older sister, which is if older sister doesn't plan it, it doesn't happen. So there's two separate problems here.
Yep.
I'm not convinced that they aren't both gendered, but I will give the benefit of the doubt on one of them, but the other one, yeah.
Yeah, there's three things that are like there's slippage between three different things, right? One of them is the game world in game, the story that's being told. Then there's this power conflict between the player and the DM of how the story should be told. And then outside of all of it is scheduling. And something that was not feeling good in the most internal world, in the game world, has like had these cascading consequences all the way out to now we can't even schedule a game because things have gotten so far off the rails.
That's what's interesting is like this person says they would be willing to play if someone else schedules it. But if they're the only person willing to schedule it, that to me is a sign, as you put it, right, of a different problem. And one that I think, yes, is probably highly gendered. Granted, we don't
Well,
know the kind of
highly
identities of those
gendered,
people.
highly gendered, yes, but also like when I say D&D is a social contract, it doesn't
Mm,
always come down to like an active fight. Like players going, we're
yeah.
not having fun, we're not showing up for this person's session ever again. Sometimes it shows up as apathy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you don't even notice that that's what's going on. So there are a couple
Mm-hmm.
things here, right? Like, I'm sorry, most of the time the DM schedules stuff. So that by itself I think is interesting. But also that like when she doesn't, the DM won't.
Mm,
That's also fascinating to me. Um, I wonder if she's not the only one feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if everyone's having a great time, somebody would schedule something or bring it up at least.
yeah, and
We,
it's
we all,
it's
oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Well, just, we get into patterns with these sorts of social dynamics, right? Of like, oh, this player always plans things. We all get lazy. We all get used to, oh, I don't have to plan things. It'll happen without me lifting a finger. Okay, now we're playing because someone else planned it. And then it's such a big lift to insert yourself into that and start to do something. Not that this is right, right? It's not okay to put all of that on one player. But I think it's very understandable to look at a situation where one player has been doing that work, that player stops doing that work, and things fall apart. Again, not even that I'm saying like probably not the asshole. I think this is a very sympathetic story, but um, yeah, I can totally see that happening at a lot of tables. If one person is taking on the scheduling and then they stop, what do we expect is going to happen? People are going to have to step up.
Yeah. Or at the minimum, they're gonna have to have a conversation about like, yeah, like this person is not scheduling things, or like, yeah, that person would probably say like, I can't, I don't have the
I mean, that's
time,
the funny thing
or like,
is,
yeah,
like,
I don't
we don't
know.
have any evidence that anybody's like hopping on a group chat asking for something to be scheduled, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think hard to know, right? Like maybe it's just not in the story, but um,
When I think too, if like if the
I really
DM
don't
were as
like the way
invested,
this player agency thing and this like you're stuck in a hallucination and I'm not going to let you out unless you give up on your goal. So then the
yeah,
player's like, either I have to
that's
make the
shitty.
game stop or I have to give up what my character wants.
Yeah, that's not okay.
No.
Yeah.
That one feels pretty open and shut to me. Like if you are putting a
Mm,
player in a situation where you're literally saying, "Hey, you've been very clear about how you want to play this character. I don't like how you want to play that character. I have more control because of the rules of this game. I'm going to put you in a no-win situation." That's scummy.
You want the total opposite for our last one today?
yes.
Am I the asshole for not railroading? And this
Oh
is asked
Jesus.
by username outside lifeguard 14. Hello, new to the chat, and I want to make this short. I started a new group and I love to improv and be flexible with rules. I studied the lore of the Forgotten Realms and monster lore, trying to keep close to it, but still use my characters' backstories as well. I informed the players that I wanted to play a hex crawl, and they were fine with that. So I make a setting in a gold rush type of setting where higher leveled heroes killed a dragon at its lair, and now a small town is building itself around the area of the lair to take resources from the cave.
That's
That was
cool. I like
cool.
that. Yeah.
We played 2 sessions, and I found some of the players confused about what to do. I understand it could be a lot for level 1 characters, so I showed them the different guilds and jobs they could do, but still some players are waiting for me to give their character a purpose in life or something. My whole goal was to build a town around the actions of the players, like in Fable, but I just lost one of the players because he said it's not his vibe. Am I the asshole for not putting the game on rails? There is
Um,
additional information that they did
mm,
provide. The players don't talk to each other in character either, which is weird for me. I've never been in a group that doesn't talk to each other.
hmm. I mean, this is the eternal question, right? Like how,
To
as a
railroad
DM,
or not to railroad?
well, or like to what degree does one railroad a load? How there's always a balance to strike, right? Between like here are the things, the breadcrumbs you give your players, um, versus here are the things that help to move the story along. And also, like again, there are different kinds of campaigns. Like a 2 or 3 episode or session adventure is going to be on a very different kind of set of rails or have a very different sense of its sandbox as compared to open-ended campaign. Um, and at a certain point, you know, I think it can be helpful to just say orcs attack and you have to deal with consequences now, right? And then that's a mode to shift things if you need to. You don't always need to. Oh yes, the adult red dragon enters the room full of level 3 characters, which I'm definitely stealing that. Um, yeah, I
Like,
don't
you're gonna
know.
make us do that? Like, please clarify.
I won't make you fight it, obviously, because you'll be incinerated. But yeah,
I think
this,
this
this is
is I think this is another one where, there are things that should have happened even before we got to this point. And I will say, like, yes, the railroad open world, it's got to be a spectrum, and as a DM, you want to learn how to adjust to where your players need you to be on that spectrum. Um, but there are some things I think you can do even before you get there. One of them, okay. I'm making a couple assumptions here, but it sounds like this is a fairly green group of players. They're starting at level 1. Maybe it's a new group. Maybe a lot of them haven't done much TTRPG playing at
We know
all
that
before.
it's I'll tell you what we know from the post, that the group itself is new and
Hmm.
that they are starting at level 1.
Yeah,
And we also know that they don't talk to each other in character,
in character.
but that the DM had never come across that before,
Yeah, the DM
which I
has some
also think is
experience.
interesting.
The DM has some experience. Maybe the players don't. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. But if you have, I would say, regardless, but especially if you're trying to go into an open world kind of feel with players who don't have a lot of role playing experience, I think it's really important to have part of your session zero, part of your character concept conversation be what are your character's motivations? Why do they want to adventure? Not just why do you want to have a sword or know how to cast spells, but what's getting you into the world? What are you chasing? What's driving that character? Um, and I think this is something where it's really easy to fall down on that if you follow, the player handbook, um, how to build a character. I think it's very much about the mechanics of a character. Um, I don't know. I
mm,
haven't looked at the new one as carefully, so it might have more of this, but
The new
but
one
coming
is
up with that
like
motivation
confusing.
Coming up with
Sorry.
that motivation is so important, especially if you're going into an open world. If you're on Railroad, like, fine, just show up with your sword and your spells and you'll be okay. But yeah, I think that that might be a crucial step in this sort of situation.
See, I'm
Yeah.
wondering if this is a DM who has only ever been spoiled by a certain type of player.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm sorry, I know a lot of great players that don't talk to each other in character. Um,
Mm.
it's a comfort level thing sometimes, but also, do they know what a hex crawl is when they agreed to it? Question
Hmm.
one. Because weirdly, I think with a hex crawl, you don't necessarily need a motivation, right? You're
No,
like,
you want to go
let's just head
enter the
east.
dungeon. Yeah.
Like, so, and also going 2 sessions without helping them. I mean, all you have to do as a DM is like pick a quest or pick a lure, give
But
them
it sounds like there was
one,
like a quest
and then
board
you
or
can
something.
reset later. Well, that part, it says, I showed them the different guilds and jobs they could do. And I assume jobs would mean quests, unless it
Yeah.
literally means occupations. So when it's paired with guilds, I don't know. Being
Yeah.
autistic
Mm.
right now. Um, but and this idea that's like I wanted to build a town around the actions of the players, like in Fable, was the other one that made me wonder.
Mm.
It doesn't sound like hex crawl, number one. Um,
Mm.
I don't know. I've got a lot of questions, but I do think if your players need a lure, give them a lure, and then you can wean them off the lure later for a little bit and see if they get into this sandboxy
Mm.
spirit.
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting because he says he still uses his characters' backstories, so
So
they
clearly they
must
had
have
backstories.
backstory.
Hmm.
Well, and that's the thing that I've been thinking too. Like as you were saying, Scott, like the session zero is very important for this kind of thing,
Yeah.
where you and, like you as the DM, even if there's like a minimal session zero or no session zero, God forbid, you should always have a session zero. Like you still want to talk to your players and be like, what is your character interested in? Like, what do they
Yeah.
want? Especially for a campaign. Even if the beginning of the campaign is railroaded, you're gonna want to know stuff for later. I've been
Hmm.
DMing too many one shots recently, so like I
Well,
have like complete that part of my brain is
but
atrophied.
also
But
like what the player likes about the game.
yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
'Cause you want those things to be in your game, even if it's something that you're adding in addition to the world that you've thought up. Like you want those hooks. You want to have your players have those surprising moments where they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is just for me." Um,
Mm-hmm.
like that's the best feeling as a player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if they're stuck, just have them roll dice. They're right there. Right? Like if there's 3 ways to leave the town, have them roll a d6 and then be like, you leave the town that way.
Yep.
I think this is the so much of okay, DMs sit there by themselves. It reminds me a lot of like certain types of organists, to have like the music analogy, where like
Mm-hmm.
to practice your craft and to do what you do, you spend so much time by yourself. And then to actually like do the job itself, you have to be so collaborative. And those two
Mm.
things almost like they push against each other. And it's
Hmm.
hard to be good at both of them. I think this is
Mm.
a case where, I mean, I interrupted this and y'all responded too. This is a great idea for a setting.
Oh yeah, it's great.
But the problem is it only sort of matters,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, that I mean, great. You wrote a source book in your head. Congratulations. Like the actual DMing has this other skill you also need, that
Mm.
involves a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know,
Like
like
why not just go
outside
ahead.
of this, we talked about like toggling stat blocks with minions or having like multiple levels for monsters to turn up and down. And like, I don't know. I think having different, maybe I was only talking to Scott about that from Chris's face. That's
Yeah, no,
totally
I have
possible.
no idea what you're talking
Um,
about.
I could just be making this up. I was definitely talking to Gustavo about it yesterday after you left. That's what it was. It wasn't even Scott. Um, but because you had the monsters on the, you showed them that there are ones you didn't pull out for that combat we played last night. Yes, blanking.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, after you left, Gustavo and I were talking about times that we've done that
Ah, I
as
see.
DMs. But anyway, there's the plan, and then there's what your players bring, and you have to adjust and be flexible and communicate that gap. because
I
there's
mean,
always going to be a gap.
and I think never underestimate the power of a random NPC that shows up, recognizes the players or adventurers, and says, "Hey, can you go do this thing for me?" Or like, "Hey, I happen to know the exact answer to the question you're after.
Yeah.
Here you
Yeah.
go." Or like, "I will take you to this place that you have been sent to find because serendipitously I have appeared in front of you and I'm talking to you."
You know what
I
works
think
well
it's
for
the thing, right?
children?
Like this is a trap I fall into as a DM all the time, where like I want
Mm,
that open world, I want that realistic feel, I want everything to be organic, and for the players to be just bumping into things and they lead the dance. But it doesn't always work that way. And yeah, if it's not happening, if that organic feeling isn't coming up on its own, give it a nudge. It's okay. It doesn't have,
mm,
like, even if it feels trite or, too tropey, that's okay. There's a difference between watching something like a piece of content that's very trope heavy and you feel like, oh, okay, I've seen this 1,000 times before. There's a difference between doing that and actually being in it yourself and playing it. It's okay to have tropes at your D&D table.
I mean,
mhm,
open world video games, because this is one of the things we've seen, right? Is D&D increasingly like video gamified? But even if you have an open world video game, there are indicators. And I love reading things about all of the really subtle psychological games that game designers are playing on us. I mean, whether it's
mm,
something simple, follow the yellow line, this tree is shaped like an arrow for some reason. But there are really, really subtle ones that they can use where you think that you are choosing it, but if you're confused and disoriented, there's something subconscious. Um, but on the other hand, like it's really funny with kids. There are two strategies. One of them is you have a cute animal that they spot down a path. They will go. The other one is you have an adult show up and tell them what to do, and they will not do it.
mm.
There you go. Now you know. You can take care of any situation with kids that way. No, but there is
I mean,
something, right? Like Boblin the Goblin, like describe an interesting NPC. They might not pick it up,
I
but
mean, I did this. I literally did this last night. Like, I gave them two different NPCs that could get them to the same exact thing. It was just a question of which ones they wanted to engage with. As like, here's the town drunk, and then the other person that was very goal oriented went into the tavern and started talking to the person in charge. And both of those people knew the NPC they were after. So and of course, for in different ways and for different reasons, and had different opinions of that NPC. And so, how they got there was going to be different. And so their choices do in some ways matter. Um, but again, like I DM a lot of one shots, so there's a lot of different paths to eventually get to the same place. Um,
yeah.
which I think, and that's the thing that to come back to the thing about like railroading, like you always want to give your players choices. The degree to which those choices affect the outcome is important, but especially if you're trying to do something short, it's about the journey to get there. And so players don't always need to know that like the array of choices before them, while they all may lead to the same ultimate outcome, how they do that is going to have a kind of a massive impact on the game, right? Can very much set the tone, right? If they decide they want to, get the information they need to get to the ruin by, torturing someone or by doing a quest for someone or by, I don't know, bribing someone, right? All of those things have consequences, but ultimately get you to the same place. Um,
I mean, the other thing to think about here, especially with this clarification of like the players don't talk to each other.
mm,
You're not just this is the other piece that makes it difficult from like designing a video game for somebody. It's not single player. It's a
mm,
group of people that have to decide what they're going to do together.
mm.
Like the example of last night was great because you get one person like I'm just going to go start stealing food. Right, like they were ready. They had things they wanted to do. They made no sense. They didn't advance the plot in general. And that's when you're like, you know what? Wherever they decided they were going to go get food, something is there that's going to help.
Yeah,
But
they said they
also,
got jerky. Suddenly there's a jerky cart there. I love it. Let's go.
that is a group that I have sometimes DM'd and just stopped making plans. We would have like 5 sessions in a row that were just living out the consequences of their actions.
Mhm.
Because they're at no shortage of ideas. If they get bored, they will
Mm,
just do something. They will just knock something over. Like it's very cat-like. But there are other groups that will feel frozen by that. So there's no
Mhm.
mm,
one right answer. You have to get to know your players.
yeah.
And it's just like anything else, right? You give them a little bit of support. Some of the best DMing advice I got, and I still am not good at following to this day, is the idea that when you're describing an environment, the way you describe it matters, and that you should conceptualize it like it's a movie and it's a camera, right? Like a camera coming into a frame, what it lights on, what comes into focus, what is seen last before something is cut. All of that is going to have an impact on the players. So like the way you describe a room will also impact what they're going to do with it. Which players they're going to talk to, which won't. Now, are some of them notoriously ridiculous? Yes. Hi, it's me. Um, but it's a huge bag of tools. And when all else fails, you can force the issue. Like there's nothing wrong
Hmm.
with a monster attacks the city. It's a classic.
Hmm. When thinking about last night, this was one thing where I was feeling like I didn't do the best job, and it's precisely in how you describe things to get players like engaged and like
I told you that group was going to give you trouble because they're
what?
chaotic. I told you that group
Well,
was just going to be chaotic, and they were.
I mean, it was fine, but like I think
They had
the
a
way I
great
was
time.
well, the way I was describing how they came into the town, I don't know that I gave them enough necessarily with my initial description to give them avenues forward. And of course, then we make some checks. They look at some more things. It's fine, but you know that is that's a skill. Like that's a thing that's difficult, and I'm okay at it sometimes. I'm not good at it sometimes. Other times,
But the
and
players are also going to take what they need, right? Like you
true,
could
or they're
describe
going to
it
outright ignore what you
perfectly.
say.
You could describe it perfectly, but if the players are going to have more fun causing mischief, it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to cause mischief. And
One
in that
hundred and ten
case, you need
percent.
to calibrate your expectations because yes, you're there to have fun too, but you're also there to give the players a good experience.
Ask me
So you
how I
kind of
know
have
this from
to,
personal experience.
it's a really successful business empire that my character's running. It's fine. But you know what I mean? Like
Yes,
you
I
are
do.
negotiating this thing, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's interesting here, right? Is like this particular DM is probably the exact perfect DM for certain types of players. What do
Yeah.
you do when your players are different? You kind of have to decide, is this going to work? Do I want to put in the effort? And then you start the negotiating and how do I make this fun for all of us?
Oh, also, I
I
just looked in the chat. Hi, Will. Thank you for enabling the drunk. That was very fun for me.
Also, like, yeah, you didn't burn down anything, and I'm really disappointed in you.
I also just want to say for this, last DM who posted, like, give yourself some grace, right? Like you
Yeah.
came into this hoping for a certain kind of experience, and maybe your players weren't ready for that exactly, right? And that's okay. Like it's all just a
Mm,
learning experience. Like you haven't done something wrong by not railroading. You're not the asshole. You're
yeah.
just,
It
you're
does seem like a
noticing.
strong condemnation.
Right, right.
You asshole.
There's just a little. It sounds like there's a little misfit between the group and the way that you conceptualized running the game. Um, that's cool. Try pivoting a little bit and see if you can get the fit.
I mean, it is really funny. I've had the good fortune of running, like writing a homebrew adventure and running it for two completely different groups. And the way that the amount of guardrails they need or want being
Mm,
drastically different,
Mm,
um, is part of what makes this game a lot of fun. I think the only
mm,
thing that would make this guy an asshole is if he's refusing to try to meet the players where they are. I think as long as you're trying and doing it respectfully and having a conversation, that doesn't, yeah, that term isn't right.
yeah.
mm.
Maybe we'll just have Will on next week. Then
Yeah.
we won't have anyone in the audience. So, oh, goodness gracious. Well, that was the last one I was planning to do tonight. We are kind of at time. Any other thoughts on tonight's adventures? Words of wisdom.
Talk to your players. I feel like that's that's the answer like 90% of the time.
And that's the
Um,
title
ex-
for next week.
2
Perfect.
episodes. We're done. We solved it. We fixed
Yeah, we
DMing.
solved it. That's it. That's all DMing. That's all DMing is. Although, well, that kind of the first person kind of did that and it didn't work. Although, like, okay, so yes, addendum. How you talk to your players is also important.
Let Grandma be the ref. It's unclear if Grandma was a good ref or not.
Yeah, I think Grandma was. Grandma didn't have the right take. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the family dynamic, but
And now I really wish my grandma had like. She would have been fun to play with because she was so like. Anyway. We can have that conversation another time.
The next
talk
time
to
we
your
talk about
players.
grandmothers playing D&D.
Get Grandma to the table.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, it really is for everybody. I will say the play tests we've done where we do have people who are grandmothers, amazing. I love it. I love it so much. There is not, I think the big takeaway here is there is not an age limit for D&D on that, because
Mm,
I would be like, come
mhm.
on, grandma, let's get you at the table. Maybe grandma will play the character that the paladin can swear an oath to. I will say that is it's a funny character concept, but I could see why they have to move on to another bit. You know,
Mm,
I could see that. I do want to know how
yeah.
old these people are, though. That is true.
That's one we
Cool.
could talk about next time is like, how do you, as a DM or as a player, deal with like how you design a character and how that matches up with like a particular kind of adventure length or setting or whatever. Um,
Oh, I definitely have trouble with like how much backstory to build.
because like, you know, a one-off bit character is great for a one shot. Not so great for a campaign where you're expecting like a long time of like telling a story together, building
Are
relationships,
y'all
building
attacking Gita
characters.
again? Is this just like a Gita
No,
hate channel?
this
I'm
is
just kidding.
absolutely not. In fact, I had no one in mind because I'm just a smooth brain idiot. It was just a completely abstract example.
Well, my character
Um,
with Doug, I think, was one of those, right? Where like if I had to play it for too much longer, it would take a lot more work.
yeah, and so like that I think is also it's an art, right? There's a balance there. Um, and I mean, I'm probably not a good person to have on that because I will just tell you to never stop coming up with random shit about your character. I delivered a 10-page short story to Scott when I had that new character show up in his campaign.
And it
So
was lovely. It was amazing. I don't know, as a DM, my experiences with players bringing a lot to the table have always been positive. I know there are stories out there of things going too far in that direction. I don't want to say it
mm,
doesn't happen, but I haven't seen it yet,
I think
personally.
it's whether the character, whether the a lot of it has less to do with backstory and more to do with planned future story where
mm,
it goes wrong
hmm
Mhm. Yeah.
or being inflexible. I mean, I used to plan more for my characters and now I plan less because it lets me be more open to like
mm,
I'm learning about the character as they go.
Hmm.
Um I know this is making me sound very strange, but that is true. Like I didn't know who Toblin was when I started, and then opportunities arise. This is how Toblin behaves, and I'm learning who Toblin is, and like fleshing out backstory kind of stuff. There'd be like one or two anecdotes in mind that'll pop up all of a sudden. I'll be like, yeah, that's the like why she stopped dating people because she was around humans and she was half elf, and it started to get really awkward the age difference. It's just things.
hmm
But it is very different from how you do it, Chris, because yours are more fleshed out before game day than mine are, I think.
yeah, perhaps, but I think I granted like my sample size is very small. Um, I think I had a lot of backstory, and I think I didn't have. I try to set it up so like there's momentum going into a game, but then once that character's in there, it's like, oh wait, I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, and then but then it becomes this thing of like I need to discover what this character is in this new context and not in the one that I wrote for it, right? Which is in the past and fixed. Um,
Oh, I mean, don't underestimate co-creating character backstory with a DM. Period. Like, don't
yeah,
underestimate that.
yeah.
Because I joke about Gita, the Tempest cleric, a lot, and her shtick was she likes boats, man. I don't know what you want from her, but there weren't boats in Barovia, which is what made it interesting. But she finds a sentient weapon, and then that becomes a major part of who she is, and that like you having room for your character to grow in the story, I think is where. Because a lot of times we watch actual play and we see all this character development that was planned out with the
Mm,
assistance of writers that are credited on the end of the episode and whatever. It can be a little intimidating. But I think there's natural character growth if you have a sense of who your character is, but let them grow beyond that.
mm.
That's just
But
that's
by
just
the
like a
same,
human lesson too.
well, indeed. By the same token, though, I think there are, and granted, this is my own example, so maybe this is self-aggrandizing on me, but there are moments where I think a character responds to the setting by not growing, right? Because
Yeah,
the setting is antithetical to who they are.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I am thinking of my initial character for the Barovia campaign, who was a Circle of Stars druid who loved the ocean and nature and wanted to do the right thing. And you
Oh, and I
can't
got
see
to
the
kill him,
fucking
right?
sky in Barovia, and then you got to do a post death thing.
And
Um,
I love
so
coming into Scott's campaigns and ruining things.
well, he was already dead, but anyway. But the point is,
Mostly
like
dead.
that character, like what happened to that character, I thought made a lot of sense, frankly, in the context of this horror adventure that he was dropped into.
And I think
And
the fact that you were comfortable going there, like, really deepened the experience of the world for everybody else who was playing in it,
mm,
And to go back to, was it the first or the second one with the person who makes reckless characters? Like,
yeah,
if that person
Fine, yeah.
is someone who is really comfortable, like, running into danger and losing a character, if that's, like, a session well played for them, like, power to them, because I feel like that's what happened to Caradwin. Was you put this character in a world where it was like there was no win for that character,
mm,
uh, and there were consequences, and we played out the consequences, and I thought it was really interesting.
yeah. And then I rolled up a new character that made more sense in the world, and he turned out to be super fun too. So like it's yeah, and yeah, the story was interesting, and then we got to do things with that later, right? Like that had ramifications down the line. So like yeah, don't be afraid to let characters develop in unexpected ways, right? Or not develop, as the case may be.
Really
Yeah.
comes down to how much it starts, I think, impacting other players.
Yeah.
Like I have played with people who continually put the party into danger in a way that the
Mm,
party suffers the consequences of their
yes.
actions. And that can create a whole disaster. You don't want to go there. On the other hand, I have seen a character rush into action and die as a result, and the party literally go to hell to get them back. And that was one of the best arcs that had to be totally improvised by the DM, and it was amazing. For some reason, it involved a succubus that was already like, was supposed to be a one-off NPC, but whatever it takes. But yeah, it really is about. I'm sure there was a lot of checking in and kind of negotiating those boundaries, and um, like I found with the kids, a lot of times it helps them for me to say like, I'm not gonna let your character die until you're ready for that character to die. Just
Mm,
because when they're new to it and when you're a kid, everything's childhood was easy. It was not. Like you feel everything as strongly as adults and you have no coping mechanisms at first and you have no frame of reference and it feels like it'll be this way forever and you have no power and like you do need to give kids more control at the D&D table because they have less agency in their real life. But you know, I think a similar thing could go for adults. I mean, every now and again, you meet a kid that's like, "No, I really want to kill this character. Like that's the right way for this story to go." Or
yeah.
it's all the checking in between sessions, I think, that makes a lot of good DMing sometimes.
Well, and that's what
Yeah.
happened with me and Scott, that, like, I was realizing that this character was feeling tricky to play, or sometimes even just bad to play, because it's like the things this character wanted, the things that this character that, brought this character, you know, joy in Barovia. Ugh, let's not go there. But the things that made this character were just not landing in Barovia, and so I, eventually like managed to figure out how to vocalize that, and then Scott and I talked, and then eventually it became like Scott was like, do we kill this character? Or maybe I said that. I don't know who said it, but basically like that was on the table. And I was like, you know what? I think that's a reasonable way for this to go.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Uh,
And
Kill your
that's also
characters.
the way you're describing it also is making me think like it's not just who is the character and what's the right story for them, it's also who is the player and what do they need out of the experience playing the character. Because
Mm,
I think the way you set that up, that's really important. You had this character and you were attracted to certain qualities about them that I think I did a bad job of not doing enough session zero for our Barovia campaign. This is the first thing I ever run. Do not recommend for new DMs. Um, but
Excuse Scott?
but I did not
Scott,
check in with you.
Scott,
Yes.
you ran Curse of Strahd first?
Yeah.
I think that might have been the first campaign I played in too, because I'm pretty sure I DM'd for you first.
So
Anyway, we were all younger and stupider then, so
we jumped into it, and when we realized, like,
Younger
we hadn't done that
younger
session zero
badasses.
stuff.
I
We
guess you
hadn't.
didn't know. You had no idea. You could not have known what you were getting
No,
into.
of course not. Of course not. So yeah, in our case, it
Yeah.
was like check in after the fact and figure out how are we going to get ourselves out of this corner we've painted ourselves into.
Mhm,
But the point I was trying to make, I think there are other players who could have taken that same character and would say like, no, 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 I want to like butt my head against this wall. I want that to be the arc of this character. That's okay
mhm.
too.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answers, but it's what's right for the player and what's right for the character. And as we keep on
Mhm,
saying, talk about it.
mm,
D&D should be fun which is different for everybody.
Yeah.
mhm.
Although please stop setting my taverns on fire. I beg of you.
I am not responsible. Is Will still in the chat? He
Anyway.
might be.
We'll
Anyway,
definitely have to do I like the idea of doing some character building stuff down the line, but as a
yeah.
reminder, folks, whether you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube, there'll be a link in the chat if you want to submit stories, questions, thoughts, anything you want us to respond to. If you want to share your cool characters, whatever you want to do. Again, in about a week, this is going to go up on YouTube captioned. We'll have another episode same time next week. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Bye. See you next week.